So there actually are two products that we're talking about here, or collections of products. There's the Puig Tech and the Puig Child,
Right.
And then there's also the Jack Joseph Puig Artist Collection.
Correct.
Can you tell us what the difference is between those two?
Sure. The Puig Child and the Puig Tech is simply modeling. What I did is out of 25 different Fairchilds I've had over a span of time on my hands on, I collected one that was the best one I ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
And I took care of it and as if it was my pet, in a sense. And then there's the Puig Child and the Puig Tech, which are modeled after Pultecs. And so what we did is we modeled those for the eye carving purposes
Mm-hmm.
of having those forever. And secondly, for, again, people who don't have the opportunity to use a $30,000 compressor.
Right.
One, because they're dying just out of age,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them aren't maintained properly because people don't know how to maintain them or are able to get the parts. So we wanted to have that as something that people could use in these makeshift situations that I talked about earlier, where
Mm-hmm.
you're not in the big professional recording studio, but you wish you had the access to the classic piece of equipment that we all know works and sounds beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that initially. After we did that, months later now, we decided to have a signature series, which is simply a plugin that I have designed
I see.
along with Waves,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is something that the musicians and producers and engineers and everyone can use, that has a lot of my philosophy and experience and other pieces of equipment, again, that live in that world that they don't have access to,
Mm-hmm.
bundled together so they can have a plug-in that they can put on a voice, a guitar, a bass, drums, or percussion,
Mm-hmm.
or keyboards. There's 6 of them dedicated to those 6 instruments. And then within those plugins, there's a kick in, a kick out, right? A tom-tom, etc. A snare under,
I see.
a overhead, a clave, a tambourine, a sense high, sense low, strings, male voice, female voice, different choices that they can quickly get to a place that sounds great. So the plugin is made as a design that has nothing to do with modeling. It's totally 2 different things.
I see. So in one case, we're getting a modeled specific piece of hardware.
Correct.
In another case, you're getting an application-specific processor that you've designed based on your experience in
Right.
your ears.
A combination of hardware and software
Right.
put together. So it's where the analog and the digital shake hands
Mm-hmm.
together to create what is the future.
Right. Wonderful.
So that's the dream, that hopefully it inspires people,
Mm-hmm.
that they put it in, and because they put it in and it immediately sounds fantastic, they have a voice they record, they put the vocal plug-in on it, and it's just like, whoa, it already sounds like it's got that magic. One fader is called Magic Air, and it's got that magic air. It sounds beautiful, it's open, it's bright, it's like exciting, it's in my face, but they didn't really sing. They sounded a little bit funny. I wish the diction was better. Well, it says attack. You lift it up. It's like, whoa! I hear the consonants of the person's voice now. I can understand what he's saying, and that's where the power is, right?
Right.
Is in the vocal performance and what they're saying,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you look at the 50 years of history, whether it's ska, disco, punk, rock, whatever it might be, it's still I want you, I need you, I wish you would come back to me.
Right.
My life's been miserable. Intro, verse, chorus, B section, second verse, right? B section,
Right.
second chorus, bridge, tambourine comes in, outro, strings. Same record. Doesn't matter who it is.
Right. Absolutely.
So I want to make something that will help those people and inspire those people
Mm-hmm.
to feel like they can do it. And once they feel that inspiration, right? Because when musicians feel the inspiration, that's when they write great things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my dream
Mm-hmm.
of what I'm trying to accomplish.
Right. So you did this by not only modeling the hardware, your own Fairchild and your own Pultec equalizers, but you also put your experience into the plugin so that someone at home working in the studio who doesn't have the benefit of working with mentors like you had and the years of experience that you have can still get the benefit of that by using the plugins with the presets and kind of the way that you've designed the controls to be very user-friendly and very applicable to what someone's
Right.
doing.
Very musical.
Right.
Because sometimes you record something at a certain tempo or a certain feel and you realize that it doesn't make sense as the record progresses
Mhm.
sometimes. Because you got to remember, in the situation I just described, the records aren't made with everyone playing together. They're made in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
Now we do this part, let's do that part, let's do this part, it's that part. Part of it is the digital control, which has its beauty,
Right.
right? Obviously, because of the manipulation is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Play-Doh. You get to change it. It's fabulous. But you don't have the same sometimes you don't have the same advantage of when everyone's playing together to see the whole picture and to manipulate it as a unit.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you might decide later that you've got to make a change, and the plugins will let you do that because they have things like sustain or length, or attitude.
Right.
All those kinds of things you can change. Wood on the snare drum, it says wood. If you lift that up, the snare drum sounds very woody all of a sudden. Maybe you made a mistake by using a bright snare drum. You were trying to make it sound like a Police record, and then you realize later, oh, it should have sounded more like Nirvana.
Right.
Well, you can do that.
Uh-huh.
And that's a valuable tool to me, that if I was a record maker as a songwriter or in a band and as a guitar player, whatever it might be, or aspiring producer, I could make those changes.
Mm-hmm.
And the plugins, what we did is a lot of things I do in the analog domain that I've done for years. Obviously, the digital people don't think the same way. They speak French, and analog people speak American.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to come up with waves, and they were fabulous when I'd say to them, I want something that does X, and they would make it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to do this and that. Got it. And they'd come back and they'd send me the code. Here it is. And it'd come back with a crazy GUI that meant nothing, but it had all the controls in it, so I could go in and create what I wanted. And they went, okay, we'll call that JJP color, for instance, which exists.
Right.
It's a massive sort of distortion machine that we learned a lot from the Fairchild to create that, and that's inside the plugin. So it's its own thing. It's not, gee, let's put this equalizer with this thing and make this chain. That's not what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
It's about actually creating what I do in the analog domain in the digital domain.
Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate you being with us.
My pleasure.
It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm Mitch Gallagher. Thanks for joining us for the Sweetwater Minute.